Howdy, y'all. You might have heard that Vladimir Putin of Russia went all crazy and invaded the Ukraine. Putin is definitely crazy pants, but he kind of has a point. NATO, a military organization of the United States and its vassals, is at least equally to blame on this issue. In order to tell this story, it's necessary to go back to the end of the Cold War. Here, in 1989, we have the blue countries that belong to NATO and the United States. Germany was divided into western and eastern halves. East Germany was part of the pink here. The pink countries were all basically Russian colonies, and members of what was called the Warsaw Pact. The red bit is the USSR itself. In the 1980s, Russia figured out something the rest of Europe had figured out about 30 years earlier. Being an empire, it sucks. So Russia was willing to pull back, but it really didn't like the idea of Germany getting back together, for some pretty obvious reasons.
Ein Platz eingezogen! Lebensraum!
The U.S. stepped up and made a simple promise, that NATO's boundaries would not move beyond what was then East Germany. U.S. Secretary of State James Baker assured the Russians that NATO would not move 1 inch to the east. This promise was important. Russia believed it. They allowed Germany to reunify. They allowed the Warsaw Pact to disintegrate. Then, in 1991, in an incredible step, they let the old Russian Empire, known then as the USSR, fall apart. This included territories, like Crimea in the Ukraine, that had been Russian for hundreds of years. Thanks in part to NATO's promise, Europe's horrific 20th century ordeal was finally over. Unfortunately, the promise that the United States made barely held for a decade. The 90s were pretty bad for Russia. Despite the fact that the Cold War was already over, the Clinton administration couldn't resist continuing to fight it. Suck it, Boris! In 1999, we took advantage of Russia's weakness and added much of the old Warsaw Pact to NATO. In 2004, noted foreign policy genius George Bush went even further, adding the rest of the Warsaw Pact and countries that had once been part of the USSR. In 2008, elements within NATO made it clear that they intended to ask Georgia and Ukraine to join. This was too much for Russia. In 2008, with some help from the Georgian president, Putin engineered an invasion of Georgia. This seemed to cool NATO down a bit. It reminded us that we were a military organization, and maybe we should be a little more careful about what we were committing to. Despite this clear warning, the Obama administration continued NATO's expansion. Adding Croatia and Albania had no purpose other than cementing the pointless idea that closer links to NATO and the European Union were an automatic thing. In early 2014, when the United States helped to overthrow the shitty but democratically elected president of Ukraine in the name of a treaty with the EU, an outsized reaction from Russia was the easiest thing to predict in the world. To review, this is where the border of the anti-Russian military alliance was in 1990, when the U.S. promised it wouldn't expand another inch. Here is where it stands today. Putin is certainly a bad actor. He is using Western aggression to cover for the fact that he is turning Russia into the Nigeria of Europe. But why the hell did we give him the excuse? You can see our other Ukraine video for one reason why. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.